Hey everybody, how's it going? Today we're going to be looking at the Brown Knives Exponent, and I picked this guy up from the last batch, the very last batch that was made before they go out of production here in November. So I was really happy I was able to get one of these. This is my first front flipper knife. Before this, or at least before being able to really kind of practice on one, I was definitely front flipper handicapped. At Blade Show, I could not open the chamois or the Thief 23, so, and see there I messed up too, but it's kind of weird. It's an awkward sort of opening mechanism. So, but like you just saw me do a second ago, you can also finger flick this guy because the plunge grind on the blade right here is so kind of, it's a lot more, it's more angular than say the Servo or his other knife. So it's a really kind of unique design, very kind of a mix of like modern and traditional, I guess I should say. The blade shape is very kind of modern and non-traditional, and versus the rest of the knife is just kind of swooping and organic and not as kind of a drastic design choice as the blade is. This is from Brown Knives. I have the Brown Knives Servo here. This is Craig Brown's other knife. This is knife number 2 that model number 2, I should say, that he's made. He made the Parabellum, I think is what it's called. Not 100% sure. He has this one, the Servo, which went on for about 175 knives. And then this is the Exponent. I think there are close to 300 Exponents. This is Exponent number 289. It has a polished blade, regular clip, a textured Damascus inlay, which is really unique and I've never seen on another knife. Most people just kind of have the polished Damascus, but this has a cool texture to it because it's been milled. The edges are almost sharp. I almost want to say they're sharp because you can definitely feel them. They're not smooth, but they're not uncomfortable. There's also a nice little milling touch right here and kind of the lock bar where your finger goes to close the lock bar. I love the clip. I think the clip's a really cool design. And he spreads his maker's mark around. He's got it there at the base of the clip. He's got it here as the pivot on the show side, which, as you can see, it makes it a fixed pivot as opposed to free spinning. So that's always a good design choice and makes an easy construction and takedown. So, but yeah, in terms of front flippers, like I said, this is my first one. I'm really enjoying it, but unfortunately it's not going to be staying in my collection just because I don't enjoy it enough to keep it for how much it was. And this guy in particular was $750. The Damascus adds $100 onto the base price of $650. So this guy was $750. Action is phenomenal. Very smooth opening, super smooth shut. I'm gonna try and do the finger flick. So, kind of a very unique thing to be able to do with this knife, given that it's a front flipper. Because maybe you're not very good with front flipping, or since I've been using this, the side of my thumb has really begun to hurt. So having the finger groove, the fuller to finger flick it open is a nice touch. If we want to go into some of the stats on this guy, the overall length here is 7.5 inches with a blade of, the blade is 3.3 inches and the handle is 4.2. This guy comes in just at under 3 ounces at 2.3 or 2.73, which, it's a small knife, it's thin. I'm not sure if we're gonna be able to see this, but on the lock side, there is some interior milling right here on the lock side of the knife. Obviously there's none on the show scale because the inlay makes up the majority of the kind of depth in the show scale. So the blade is CPM 154. Got the Timascus. I think it's really pretty. I'm not sure if I like this more or just like a regular polished Timascus, but I don't have any polished Timascus to compare it to. If we want to do size comparison, we can bring out a Spyderco Paramilitary 2 that I failed to open, and we can do the bug out. So two very kind of run-of-the-mill knives that you'll find very often. You can see that the Exponent is just around the same size as the bug out with a little bit more blade. We can do the Ultratech. Ultratech's got a bigger handle, but blade's about the same size. And for the PM2, you can see the PM2 handle is very big, but that kind of goes with the front finger grip that you can do. In terms of the blade, it's roughly the same. If we want to bring out the Servo, Craig's other knife, and just do a quick little kind of see what's changed just between these two models, the time they've been around. You can always tell Craig's a CNC machinist. That's how he makes his knives. And you can tell just by how many handle options. That's just one thing we can look at. Same with the Grimsmo brothers. Talked about it in my Servo video, but there's a lot of different handle options on the Servo, and there's a lot of different handle options on the Exponent. So that's kind of the freedom that using a CNC gives you, because once you make the design, you just put it you code it into the machine, the program, and the machine will just make it consistently for you. So that's kind of a cool touch, or a cool kind of aspect for a CNC machinist for making knives. Otherwise, you can see this is a flipper knife. This is a front flipper. His next model, he has said it will be another flipper like the Servo, so I'm very excited for that. What else do we have? We can also talk about kind of the blade and the grind on the blade. It's a similar blade grind. It's a plunge, but you can see on not just because it's polished, but you can see on the Exponent that it's much more profound. And one thing that I will say I don't like, and the only thing that saves the Servo from this is the flipper tab. But if we look here, you can see that not only is there no choil on the blade, sharpening choil or finger choil otherwise, but it just, the blade just kind of becomes sharpened at a point. Like for the Exponent, it's about right here, Servo, right here. It's definitely more of a problem on the Exponent because there's no flipper tab to stop you from moving up like there is on the Servo. So for this guy, your grip options you just kind of have to be careful. I mean, obviously it's less of a functional knife given it's just kind of design, but there's nothing to stop you here from just kind of moving your finger up onto the sharpened part of the blade, which I'm not a big fan of. I really like the pocket clip, not only for the design, but it's also very usable. It's very malleable to get into pants. The blade shape is similar to the Servo, not only because of the grind, but just kind of that arcing swoop. I guess these are technically drop points. The Exponent looks more almost like a leaf, but yeah, just two great knives from Craig. I would definitely say the Servo is much more liked by me, and that's part of the reason why I'll be moving the Exponent through my collection and onward. But it's a good knife, and I'm really glad I got to handle it. And like I said, they don't make them anymore, which is kind of the reason why the Servo is so cool, but now they don't make these anymore, so I'm glad I've been able to experience two of Craig's models that have now gone out of production. I'm sure maybe one day I might get another Exponent, but there are definitely other knives that I would place above that in terms of priority. So, yeah. This has been the Brown Knives Exponent.